but the first time I was a victim of taxes. Victim. Was when I got my first paycheck.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the Plus 1 to 3 4 podcast. I am your co-host Mustapha and I'm here with
I'm David.
And I'm Duniya.
Just in case you've forgotten. Our topic today is taxes and money in America. So we're going to talk about our experiences with taxes. First time we came across the taxation system in the US, the IRS in particular, and then from there we talk about some of the other things they tax, like house taxes like from groceries that you buy in the store. There's a lot of taxes in the US. So we'll just break down some of our experiences with those tax systems and tax collectors. Let me go first. I remember when I came to the US in 2019, I think early 2020, I had this flatmate then that he just mentioned out of nowhere that, it's tax season. I was like, huh? It's be tax season. I was like, can you walk me through that? What does that even mean? And I was like, tax, you file your taxes, you have to report to the government how much you earned that year, and then you have to pay some money to the government. I'm like, the government didn't borrow me any money. Why am I paying them back money? I don't understand. Usually, if you're paying somebody, it means you owe them. And that means it's either you bought something from them on credit or they borrowed you some money. So I was like, the whole concept was so foreign to me because in Nigeria, we don't pay taxes, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe they take it out of salaries, but it wasn't something that I was actively aware of. So, David, can you give us some of your experiences with taxation?
So, the first time I experienced tax, there's sales tax, which when you buy stuff you pay tax on. But the first time I was a victim of taxes. Victim. Was when I got my first paycheck. That time I was calculating my salary. I was like, I'll make this amount of money. This money times this is amount of hours. I'm a big boy. I'll go and buy this thing. Then,
They play.
I got the alert. I first cleaned my eye. What's be this? Where's my money? I called them. I said, people made a mistake. Where's my... You didn't pay me all my money finish. Now I said, we took away some deductions. What deductions did you take away? We have to take taxes and medication. She was not telling me different kind of FICA and what's it called, federal taxes. I was not well that night. I wasn't well.
Yeah.
Because how they take my money? Money I worked for. I feel for me to... taxation doesn't make sense because, first of all, why are you taking my money? No, it's theft now because... No, think about it. Who does that? I make money. Before I even see the money, you've taken away a percentage. Taxes, I feel like they should give us a reason to pay taxes. They shouldn't be like, you are going to pay taxes, you have to pay taxes. Tell me why I should pay taxes and I will pay taxes. Not that you make it by force. And if I don't pay, you take me to jail for money that I worked for. My own money, take me to jail for that. That doesn't make sense to me. That's them. That's the mafia. The government is the mafia. I'm sorry. That's just wickedness.
Well, I think the irony is this. Since we are here to provide proper information about, we might not be necessarily right or wrong, but we are trying to educate people on what we know about taxes, especially as an immigrant. So let's start on this base level.
We are not tax experts. We're just giving our experiences. Let's just take it as an uneducated opinion.
Yes, sir.
An average person's opinion. We are not tax experts. We don't know how the tax system works in the US. Just
me, I'm here to rant.
If why, in the first place, the reason why you were even able to rant was because you were first legal to work, right?
Yeah.
That's legal. If you're not working legally, that's another different atmosphere, right?
Oh my god.
Fact. So let's make the example. You are an international student in the US. Doesn't matter where you come from. I think the tax system in the US is very, very, very unique
Yeah.
compared to anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So there's no way you come here and you will not get some sort of shock when the tax system hits you, aka Mr. Sam.
Uncle
Yeah,
Sam.
Uncle Sam.
So for those that don't know, if you hear Uncle Sam anywhere, that's what it means.
Big
now,
brother.
it's very important to put it in your scope that as a student, because we're looking at it from that baseline, as a student or an immigrant, that once you start earning money, you have to pay some amount of tax. Well, the government has been collecting tax since before we came here.
Yeah.
They will be collecting tax after we leave here, whatever that means. But it is. So far, you use the amenities in the United States. So far, the police or whoever that the government, your tax money is paying, is protecting you without your knowing or you not knowing.
It's just the system, the way the system
It's
works
just how the
operates.
system
Yeah,
works.
that's
Exactly. So important things to know, because nobody tells you when you're looking for admission. Nobody tells you you're going to pay tax.
And that is the last thing you're gonna hear. Taxes.
Yeah, everything you pay. I think the first experience I knew was when I paid my fees and they were like, tax season. Have you filed the tax? Have you filed the tax? And then I was able to get, so 2 ways. You can decide to file by yourself, or you can get somebody to
An
help
expert
you.
to help
An
you.
expert help you file your tax. And those are the first things I knew, because I had a friend. I asked him, this tax stuff, I received a letter, important tax information. Every student, if so far you've paid your school fees in your university, they send you that letter. And sometimes you'll be like, what? Because those are one of the letters, you'll be like, what am I using this thing for? What's so important about this?
So because we are from British speaking countries, we use school fees, but like what we're talking about is tuition fees.
Yeah. So yeah. First of all, you get a tax document for you to file your tax for the previous year, for your earnings of your previous year.
Yep.
And second of all, you have to decide if you want to file by yourself or with someone who is an expert. Now, I think the advantage of an expert is that they know more than you do. Obviously, they know where you can get more money back from the government, and actually, that's the biggest advantage. If you file tax by yourself and you don't have proper knowledge of the system, sometimes you might be filing your tax wrongly.
Yeah.
And that tax season, because tax season also is like a certain period of time where you can file for your tax.
Yeah, it's just like an admission cycle. For example, like if you're going to grad school, the admission window opens from September to December. So that's exactly how the tax season operates. So they give you maybe from April to June or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but they just give you a time frame.
Yeah, they give you a time frame.
Yeah.
So basically, it's very important that you seek some sort of knowledge or resources about your state, because every state has a unique tax system, and then there's a federal tax system.
Yeah.
And I think one thing about the tax system, again, it's not like there are some things that are constant, there are some things that change, some things evolve. Like let's say you use an EV, people who use EV and gas cars,
electric vehicles.
they
Get
get
tax
incentives,
credits.
tax credit. So I think the most important thing is this, because if you come from somewhere where nobody cares to tell you about the tax, trust me, we came from Nigeria, and if not for business owners in Nigeria, I don't know, a common a student does not care to know what the tax system is all about. I think we have something like what's the name of that? Our revenue
FIRS.
FIRS, something
FIRS.
like that. Yeah. So, if you're not in that field, of like maybe accounting or anything, they don't emphasize much on it. And coming into the States as an immigrant, it's very important to note that your income tax and other taxes are vital.
Personally, after God, the next people I fear is the IRS. I fear the IRS before I fear the devil. It's God, IRS, and then the devil. Those are like my fears in like order of priority. So I remember there was the day I went to Market Basket to buy water, like just water. I went to buy water, drinking water. That is like a basic human right. And then I was checking my receipt. I was like, I saw tax. I was like, these people are taxing
Water.
the water we're drinking. They are taxing water.
See, if they could tax your air, they would tax you.
My
They
God.
would.
See, that was like the most shocking thing I had ever experienced at that point. I was like, they're taxing water.
Yeah.
But as it just like occurred to me, that the tax system is a very old system, right?
Yeah, it's old.
And the US, what's so peculiar about the US tax system that it works for them, for the majority? Because I don't know if we can say the tax does not work, the tax system is not in favorable of the American people.
I
So,
don't understand. What do you mean?
okay, compared to Nigeria now, why don't we file taxes? Why don't we report our daily income?
Where's the income?
Which you call me? What response?
No, so it's not.
I get your point. I get your point.
The point is in the US here, right? You don't need to. For example, now you came here as a student and you're about to file taxes. Mind you, even though you don't go to do any job, your fees has a tax on it. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Your tuition fee has a tax on it.
Yep.
And sometimes you do qualify to have like some tax relief from that fees you paid. So what makes it so good that they can go ahead to tax even you as an immigrant and tax everybody? Like, what is the advantage of the tax system to the American people that if it's not working, I guess some people would have protest about tax, right?
People actually do.
That's what.
But they can't do
Republicans-
anything.
That's what Republicans and Democrats they promise. They'll be like, we'll give you tax cuts. Some people will be like, we'll tax the rich more. It's like part of the political system and political fair. Like the
So
politicians are
it's
running
like
for office.
it's like a political tool too. The politicians they use that like as
Yeah.
a tool to
Yeah.
And I think
gain favorism. Like,
if I'm not wrong, it's the Boston Tea Party they are against taxes. I think they are very against taxes. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's the Boston Tea Party.
Another thing that is like blowing my mind about taxes is like everybody pays this much taxes, and there's also what you call like tax brackets. So like everybody isn't in the same tax bracket. So for example, there are some people that pay like 22% of their income as taxes. Some pay 35%. Some go as high as 37%, right?
Yeah.
So there are different tax brackets. So if you have not heard anything about tax brackets, you don't know what we're talking about, it's something you get to know if you're immigrating to the US. It's something that will come up often. So don't worry about that. So then there was the day I was looking at the news, right? I was like, the country is in so much debt.
Right.
And yet the Biden administration is giving 40 billion, 50 billion to Ukraine for relief. I'm like, that is our money. Why are they giving?
I know.
Like, it makes no sense.
That's America. That's what America does.
It makes no sense to me. I'm like, you are in so much debt, and yet you are giving money to like an European country Why is the EU not helping them out? Why are they leaving it up to America to help them out? That is the EU, European Union. They should be able to raise money for Ukraine.
I don't know the facts, but I think from what we are seeing is that for the US to be this current
What
US
power?
government to
Yeah.
be so invested in Ukraine, we know that there is a lot in play, and there's a lot in play when a lot of trillions of taxpayers' money are going to a neighboring country close to Russia in support of whatever it is. And I think that's something we cannot like understand right now because it's currently going on.
FBI, you people come and explain to us. If you like, come and bundle me, and maybe if tomorrow you don't see me again, it's the FBI.
I don't think.
Because I don't understand. It doesn't make logical sense, right? Because we are all scientists here. Like we can work with numbers. We can add numbers. We're engineers. We're scientists. So if somebody presents like facts, like objective fact to me, I can connect the dots together. But the whole thing is just vague. It makes no sense. Why? Like Ukraine is not the only country that has been in war. Like historically, the US does not give this much money to countries that are in war. Even
There's
like
something we don't know,
World
as you
health,
said.
even hunger. They don't even if they bring out $40-something billion for like world hunger now, that will make a lot of sense because I'll be like, oh, that's for a good cause. But for weaponry to fight Russia, that makes no sense. Because what are we looking for in Russia? That place is so cold anyway. Who even wants to go there?
Well, let's not go
What do we
into
need
like
there?
let's not go too much into the
Politics,
war,
yeah.
into the politics.
Yeah, but tax is a very, very important part of the war because like it's taxpayers' money they are using to fund Ukraine. So it's something that everybody should be concerned about. Like they should be able to give us like break down like the facts to us and let us know what exactly they're using the taxes for and why they're giving Ukraine this much money. Like it can't just be for humanitarian efforts. There's something else at play that I think the American population needs to know. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy with a mic.
Yeah. Well,
We digressed a bit.
Yeah,
but
we
let's-
digress a bit.
Let's circle
I think
back.
The main information here, right? So two things that are important: tax and income, which is money, right? Because your income is usually paid to you as money, whichever way. So it's important for immigrants to understand that when you work, make an earnest living in the United States, from that moment you're paying taxes. And for you to have the proper education, there are so many websites that the government has a lot of good information about how you should prepare your taxes, who can help you prepare your taxes properly, and in that doing, you're doing the right thing.
So there are so many apps that can help you file your taxes. You have like Cash App can help you file, Credit
No
Karma.
sponsor. Don't mention sponsors.
Credit Karma can help you file. They are not paying for sponsorship, but it's something good
Examples.
TurboTax.
TurboTax and like H&R Block.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one that I'm missing. I think there's a major one too that helps file taxes. I can't remember, but those four are like the major ones that we use to file taxes. Most people that file taxes themselves anyway. So, tax returns. Let's talk about tax returns. Like, so after you file your taxes, the government will be like, seems you paid too much of taxes this year. Let's give you some change back.
My own money. That you.
And then they give you some change back from like overpaying taxes. They'll be like, oh, you paid too much, have some change back. And that's what they call tax returns. And one thing I've noticed in the US is that any information you need, whether it's immigration, taxes, like major things that you need to go about your day-to-day life is always readily available on their website. So all you have to do is just go online, click on the IRS website, click on the DMV website if it has to do with like driver's license, click on the USCIS website, if it has to do with immigration, there are always resources available to help you, because a lot of people, they are always expecting somebody to tell them what to do. And America, nobody's going to hold your hand to show you the way. You have to figure things out yourself out.
Yep.
It's always a good thing or a good habit to have to always go to these websites and see what's happening with regards to immigration or taxes or let's say your licenses, driver's licenses. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there. Always go out to look for resources. Don't wait for people to give you information. That's going to help you a lot.
And I think another thing is, if you have family or friends, you don't have to rely on them, because they might be doing a different type of job, they might be earning money, a different class.
Yeah.
So if they are filing, people preparing their taxes are like, maybe because they're earning higher and you are still like a student. So at every stage you are, I think there are ways to go about like filing your taxes and finding the best people that can help you as well to like get the maximum back. Because sometimes people do get like peanuts and they are entitled to more than that.
Yep.
But because they don't know, and the IRS will not,
They're not gonna chase after
they're not going
you.
to
No.
tell you, oh, you forgot to do, except maybe they have a general benefit that maybe touches everybody, and they just be like tax cut. Like maybe they'll say during COVID, they'll assume that, oh, everybody was paying more than this, and they'll just do a general overlap. But for people who know the insights, business owners who were affected by the pandemic, for example, the pandemic was a very, very peculiar situation where like people had experiences that they were not expecting, and IRS had to like, do their formula and give them some incentives.
Yeah.
So because I think we're talking about the immigrants in relation to tax, and also I think money is very important, because when you move from one sphere to another, like overseas, and you come into the US, you have to scale up your planning, because you're spending naira or CDs or whatever, right? And now you're making money in dollars. So definitely there has to be a scale up of your income and your budgeting, your spending.
I cannot emphasize this enough, the need to budget, because if you do not have good spending habits, and as an immigrant, like in Nigeria, you always have like neighbors. There's a very good borrowing habit in Nigeria and getting things on credit. It's a very common thing in Nigeria. Just as an example, I don't know about other African countries, but this is a common thing in Nigeria. So people are often irresponsible with their finances. And if you bring in that mentality into the US, thinking that you can just go knock on your neighbor's door and get some salt and some pepper and all that stuff, you'll be shocked. You're ready for a rude awakening.
The thing about America is
always know how to budget.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, as soon as you come in, make sure it is something that you're actively learning and actively investing time in.
Yep.
Because budgeting helps a lot. Because another thing that I want to note is there are certain things that have to do with auto payment. So for example, if you're bad at budgeting and a time comes for like an auto payment, and then your account goes to negative, and then the payment is rejected, your bank
overdraft.
is going to charge you. Those people are going to charge you, and then if you are in a hole, guess what? You are digging yourself in a deeper ditch. So another thing you need to know is that, for example, like Netflix, for example, because that's something that everybody uses. Netflix, you don't budget well enough, and then your balance in your bank account isn't sufficient for something like Netflix. And then let's say Netflix takes the money out of your account, and then your account is negative. And for some reason your bank decides to collect the money back from Netflix because your account is negative. Let's say Netflix is going to charge you extra now, like an extra $10 fine. And then your bank too is also going to charge like an extra $15 fine. And you see that a bill that is supposed to cost you like $19 will end up costing you like $40 because of all the charges that you've acquired. So budgeting is very, very important. Know how to budget, know how to spend. And if you're coming with your family, that's even more important to know how to budget.
Yes.
Work with your spouse and your significant other to learn and actively learn how to budget. That's very, very important. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah, America is like, it's a good country, but if you get caught up in the lifestyle too much, you can go from top and you can crash.
Yeah.
Because people, like, they start making money, they start like buying a lot of stuff, they start spending money anyhow. Tax season comes like this, you have to file your taxes. God now catches you, you have to pay more money back to the IRS.
Yeah.
Where you pay the money from? So just when you make money, like, don't just go all out, like, save some money for the future, and yeah, basically
Yeah.
just plan, just budget and plan.
Well, the good thing about budgeting here, from experience, is that there are a lot of places you can cut costs. In
Yeah.
fact, not a lot. It just feels like everything in the US has like options. You know, you can cut your coat according to your size.
Yeah.
You know, like you find a reasonable and affordable thing. And also, I think the difference for money in terms of saving, there's a difference between wants and needs. Like,
Yeah.
it's very important. You need to, as Mustapha stressed, like, there's a need to know what you need. Because if you get things that you just want and you don't really need them, you just. And
And also, just a side note, only rich people shop at Target, by the way. Only rich people shop at Target. So if you're coming into the US and you see a big Target sign, easy now, careful now.
yeah.
Walmart is for the people.
You know, there's Walmart, there's good. This is a very important information as well.
like,
Conversation about
stores that you should
where
go.
to spend your money,
Exactly.
where to put your money, and that it shows. Do you know, if you get your bank cards, right? We're talking about money. So
Yeah.
you just come into the US, you get your necessary documents, you enroll for a job. So we have like an example. You enroll for a job, you're doing your $20 job. Your 20-hour job because you're a student. Now you have to consider 3 basic things: your transportation, your feeding, and your accommodation.
Accommodation, yeah.
Yeah. Clothing is even not important. That is not that
Nah, it's
important.
not.
You just need like winter clothes
If you-
and summer
yeah.
clothes.
Yeah.
But
If you're extravagant and you put clothing, then you see your wants are becoming too much.
yeah, exactly.
They exceed your 3 needs are those 3. You have shelter, you have your
Feeding.
your food, and you have your
Accommodation.
accommodation, right?
Yeah. So something else I want to really point out is that we always tend to use like terms for students. Let's say like Duniya just making like 20-hour work week is something that international students can only work 20 hours. So if you're coming on an H1B, this does not apply to you. But you can also learn some things from what we're saying, because like a lot of the knowledge or the information that we're giving now is all encompassing. So whether you're H1B, whether you get your green card directly or you're a student, there might be some little nuances here and there, but the immigrant experience is generally usually the same. So just in case you hear some terms that you're not familiar with or does not apply to your case, you can still try and learn 1 or 2 things from what we're saying.
Yeah.
So money. So we're talking about money, and the topic is taxes and money. So we've covered taxes, now we're focused on money. And as I was saying earlier, like there are some specific stores that you can go for specific needs. For example, like if you want like cheap clothing, you go to like Marshall's. If you want like cheap groceries, you go to like Walmart. If you want what else? If you want like cheap
$1
car
store.
parts, $1 store too is good. If you want like cheap or easily accessible car parts, you go to AutoZone, right? So there are some standard stores that you can go to for like really specific things. So it's always good to like.
Generally, I think Google has a very good
Yeah.
way of showing you ratings of businesses.
Exactly, ratings, Google ratings.
They help in terms of if you want to spend your money. Let's say you want to go to a restaurant, you can just Google and
See the stars, dollar
see their
signs.
menu. Sometimes you know how much you're going to spend already.
You see the dollar signs in front of the restaurant.
Yeah, you see
If
the
it's
dollar
2,
sign.
good. If it's 5, run away.
In terms of grocery, there are like a lot of options.
Market
Yep.
basket is
It
good,
depends on which
Walmart.
one is close to you
Costco.
sometimes. So, you just have to don't be so impulsive.
Yeah.
So
don't
let
be
me
an
let,
impulsive
let,
spender.
let me say I had this experience where I was in need of a phone when I came into the US, and I went to the mall because I've had the experience where I had to maybe get a used phone, not necessarily like a new phone. So, and I was looking into getting a used iPhone that was sold in the mall. It wasn't by Apple dealership or anything. And I think I had cash with me, so I was just so pressed because I was so in need of a phone. But I was not patient to get a new phone from Apple. So I optioned to get the used phone. And after a while, I got the phone. The phone started misbehaving, and I started, telling my friend, "Oh, my phone is misbehaving." And he's like, "Take it to Apple store now." I'm like, "It's not Apple. It's like it's a third party." And they're like, "Okay, take it there." So I took it there, and it was just a lot of hassle. And then I saw people who had bought their phones from Apple, small issue. They just go into the
Apple
store.
Care,
They change it, and it's like everything is so smooth.
It's not a big
Yeah.
deal yet.
It's not a big deal. So, but it was a big deal for the guy who I got the phone from because he was trying to be like, "Oh, is maybe something, or the phone fell when you got it." A lot of excuses about fixing the phone, and they will also tell you, "Oh, if you want us to have a warranty, you have to give us some money." So in turn, they are just doing the same thing Apple is doing, just that they do it a little bit cheap. So if you have that mind about going to third parties because you're trying to find it cheap, sometimes you need to know what your money is buying you. Sometimes your money is not buying you guarantee or warranty.
Yeah. Sometimes it backfires terribly.
Exactly.
It backfires terribly on you. So there are certain things that if you're trying to cut cost on, there are certain things that are worth it, and there are certain things that are not worth it. So, for example, when it comes to phones, laptops, those are electronics, right? You really want to go through licensed distributors or licensed sales,
Carriers.
carriers. So, but if it has to do with clothes, obviously you look for where you can get it the cheapest. If you have a little tear on your trouser or your pants or your jeans or something, it's not the end of the world. But if your phone doesn't work, it's kind of a big deal. So
Yeah, those
make
are essential
sure-
to your education or your work or whatever you're doing. So
Yeah.
those are essentials. If you have a little car, depending on your car, you don't have to. There are certain dealerships you can't just go to because you're driving a.
You go and buy Benzo. Enter America, first thing, go and buy. You will cry.
Please, that is another thing that we'll probably talk about in other episodes, peer pressure.
Yeah, don't fall
peer
into it.
pressure, if you come into the US, there are certain people that have been in the US for 6, 7 years.
Topic for another day.
Yeah,
Topic
6,
for another
7
day.
years, and
Because
then,
I think that falls within your emotional maturity and intelligence on how to approach.
like I was saying, you just came into the US, and there are other people that have been in the US for 6, 7 years, and they're driving a Benz, and you think in your first year you just want to jump and drive a Benz. So everybody has their timeline in the US. As Duniya always used to tell me, everybody's timeline is different. So don't see somebody else's timeline and try to compare yourself to the person when you're not on the same level at all. And it's not even a bad thing to not be on the same level. Your journey is just starting.
Yeah.
Do not put any pressure on yourself to impress anybody. Who are you impressing? So take it easy. be good and careful with your money. Don't spend money anyhow. And this is where we're gonna segue into our final topic for the day, which is credit. Credit. Oh my God! As Jay-Z said, you know what's more important than throwing money in a strip club? Credit.
We cannot emphasize
Credit.
how
Oh my God.
important
Credit score.
credit is, because from the word credit, right? It's directly attached to your credibility.
Yeah.
If it means anything to you.
Yeah.
And because the credit system in America is top notch
Oh my God.
compared to other places in the world where you don't have any credit to show to earn anything. You just go to a bank. I know Oga Sabinus. Okay, they'll just sign, give you loan.
Yeah.
Here, from the president to somebody who just landed in the US, everybody has a credit score.
Yeah.
So it's a system, in a layman's definition, it's a score-based system that ranks you based on how you spend money.
Yeah. Your ability to pay back loans that you collect. That is, it gives you a number rating based on your ability to pay back money you collected.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, if you're just coming in, you're new, and they offer you credit, it's always good to start building your credit as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Please do not wait.
I mean, I made a mistake of not doing that. I started building my credit like 2020 December or 2021 December.
Yeah.
Why? If I may ask.
I mean,
because you are not brought up to have any debt.
Yeah.
I didn't have any I don't need, like, when I want something, I buy with my debit card. Like, I don't need the credit for anything.
And it's also a mentality shift too.
Yeah.
It's a big mentality shift.
Because a lot of times, like from our country, we're used to paying stuff with cash.
Yeah.
Like it's money you already have.
So that you own it or you don't own it.
Yeah. So this idea of having credit, like having a financial institution give you like credit of like $500, $1,000, up to like $100,000, depending on what your financial power is, and then you having to pay that money back is a very foreign concept to some of us. Like
It doesn't make sense to me
so
too today.
A quick question to just show people the importance of credit, because credit has a lot of advantages, and we can just mention a few.
Yeah.
Probably. So can you like say one important thing you learn about having credit?
Good credit score. If you have good credit score, it helps a lot if you're trying to get a house,
Yeah.
a home, a family house. Like you get married, you have your wife, or you're coming in with your spouse and your kids. Having a good credit score enables banks or financial institutions
Or lenders
take a chance with you and pay for, like, for example, like most houses in the US cost like upwards of like $600,000-$700,000, like decent houses anyway. And then you're not gonna have $600,000 like at hand to pay. You need a financial institution to back you, and that's where credit comes into play. So if you have a good credit, the banks are willing to take that chance on you. So a credit score determines how risky you are as a lender. So if you have a very low credit score, it means you are very risky to give money. And if you have a high credit score, it means you are very credible, as it implies.
Yeah.
And one thing is, if you have a very high credit score, you can also negotiate with the lenders to lower your interest rates.
Exactly.
That's one thing.
Exactly.
Everything, even from your starting point, your what do you call it?
Exactly.
Your down payment.
Yeah. But me, I'm not taking any loan to buy a house. I'm not doing any 30-year loan, 35. That's slavery, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's another topic for another day. In terms of acquiring assets, liabilities, and those are like literally accounting or financial topics.
Hopefully, if you actually continue to grow as a podcast, you can have like certain experts come in on the show to like educate people on some of these very important topics, because we don't have the technical know-how about these topics. It's just based on our experience and what we know based on how we come across it. So we might not have the technical or in-depth knowledge about such topics, but hopefully as you guys continue to subscribe, and comment on our channels, we'll be able to grow and be able to invite certain guests.
So we mentioned tax, we mentioned income, money, and we mentioned credit, and you mentioned something about buying a house.
Yeah.
So let me give the viewers like a just rough download. You come to the US and you think you just like Nigeria, where you just see one piece of land. Oh, that land, I want it. Let me go start building my house there.
It doesn't work that way.
As Musti said, you go to the bank. It's not just credit score, but credit score is the first, probably one of the first things you
And a job, you need a job too.
You need steady income to show that you can finance the debt.
Yep.
And also, they can go as far as checking if you've been paying your tax.
Yeah.
So, and also there's background check, which like puts everything in a box. I think another thing that people don't know about credit, because from my experience before immigrating to America, I had only one card, and we call it the credit card back home. Oh,
Yeah,
my
but
credit
it's
card, but it's
actually
not a credit
actually
card.
a debit
It's
card.
a debit.
Yeah.
Now, the advantage of a credit card is you go somewhere, you pay for a service with your credit card, and that service does not get delivered. Now, the advantage is your credit has more power to fight for that money back. It's different from you paying with your
Directly.
own debit card.
Yeah.
That's your own money. So wise people, or people who are financially wise in America, do not use their debit card for anything, literally, that will backfire. Most especially like when you're paying for services, you use your credit. So let's say you have $10 in your debit account, and you have a credit card that requires you to pay $5 for something. And let's say your monthly, even though you have the money in your debit, it's better for you to pay with your credit, and then just push the money to your credit card. Am I making any sense here?
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot of protection when you have credit.
Yeah. So another thing I want to quickly chip in is that some people always think they are so smart that you collect money from a financial institution and you won't pay back. You think you can run away. That doesn't work here. Like, don't think you can outsmart the system. If you do not pay any money you collect, it directly affects your credit card, and your credit score starts to sink. And you realize that when you try to pay that money back, you might already be 2 years behind in building your credit score. So if let's say you want to get a house in like 2025, because you've already fumbled and tried to outsmart the system, you might not be able to get a house until like 2027, which is significant, like paying rent for an extra 2 years when you should be in your own house paying towards your mortgage. So please do not think you're going to collect a credit card, or you want to collect like 3 credit cards, you use one credit card to pay another one, use another one to pay another one. Like, please do not think you can game the system, okay?
You have
And
to
also collect the credit amount that you know you can pay back. Some people will go and collect like a credit card of like $10,000.
That's what they will give them.
And they use the money to do all kinds of stupid stuff. And then when it's time to pay back, you can't pay back.
I have to emphasize this. A lot of people fumble their futures.
Yeah.
Just because of greed or lack of information or ignorance.
Yeah.
Because, see, trust me, one experience I had, I don't like to call companies, but just have an address, pay your tuition fee, and just be living there. And you see credit card companies, for example, the big one, Capital One,
like sending you mails.
They'll start sending you mails and about
offers.
Like, take this money.
You are being pre-qualified. I didn't ask you.
You understand? So you can imagine how the system is.
Yeah, they are
it's so good that they'll push it to you. Unlike where you are coming from a system where you have to go and beg before you see that kind of. So now, because the system here works, it's available, but do not fall a victim of thinking you can abuse that availability or that system.
And trust me, it's very easy to abuse. You fall in.
So easy to swipe your card. Like, you go to the store, swipe it.
Apple Pay.
Apple Pay is so dangerous. Like, you just tap your phone, you pay. Like, and if you're not tracking it, oh my God, you're sinking.
So you don't want to pay the hard way, because the hard way you pay is they end up catching you for
Yeah.
financial fraud. You've not been paying taxes,
Yeah.
you've been earning money, blah blah blah. What
Yeah.
do? They take you to prison. When you take you to jail or prison, you become government property, and you go into
so
hard labor. You know,
That is another thing that we'll probably talk about in future episodes. Like, if you are ever convicted, that is like game over for you. Like, because there's certain jobs you can never get as a convict, or if some of you that are like, especially in Nigeria, there are certain men and certain guys that are very touchy. For example, you like to touch the opposite sex, and you get hit with a sex offender charge or something like that. It's done. You're done. So.
no, yeah.
Keep your hands to
Talk
yourself.
about the law.
If you're a touchy person and you're immigrating to the US, please always put your hands in your pockets, please.
Yeah.
Don't just go around touching people. So that's
Yeah.
something we'll talk about in the
That
future.
I mean, if there's one important message for anyone who is an immigrant, is to maintain legality at all times.
yeah,
Like,
please.
you know,
Please.
Yeah.
it's to
Please.
maintain legality. Like, if it means you being poor for you to be legal,
Do
it's
it well.
better.
Yeah.
It's better than being rich and then it costs,
Yeah.
you just become rich, you feel like they clamp you down.
Yeah.
Even people who own the IRS from 10 years ago, when the IRS is ready to audit you, when they get to your turn, they will audit you and they will tell you. And the more the time goes,
The more interest they had.
the more interest on your offense.
Yeah.
And their interest is not even like 5%.
So
It's
another,
crazy.
another thing that I want to point is that this system here is so unforgiving. So, for example, if you have a criminal record, it might take decades to have that criminal record expunged. So, expunge means to wipe it off. So, please, it's better to prevent anything than to try to look for a cure to it after you've already committed a crime or something. So, always make sure you're on your best behavior. Always make sure you do not abuse the credit card offers they're giving you and thinking you can outsmart the system, because that is something a lot of people do. And it never ends well. Trust me, it never ends well.
Yeah.
So please do not think you can outsmart the system. Come here
Yep.
and try to do things as
Take-
honest as you possibly
take-
can.
As an immigrant, right, take advice from people who are credible. You can sense their credibility from just the stories they tell you.
Yeah.
If they tell you a very funny story, like how they cut corners and do that, do not assume you're just going to escape
Yeah.
because they are escaping.
Yeah.
And do not assume that the government is not watching. For example, we've had cases where the government will know about you maybe doing money laundering.
They will keep watching you.
Exactly.
They'll build a case.
The
They'll build a
system
case.
does not rush on you.
Yeah, they build your
If it's
case.
something new, right, they'll follow up to see how you're operating.
Yeah.
Because people do come up with new schemes.
Yeah.
So they don't rush into apprehending law. In short, they allow you. If they can even go behind to be making the deals happen
Easy,
for
yeah.
you, so that you feel so comfortable
Yeah.
and expose your whole ring or people who
Yeah.
are, because they know you go on telling people.
Yeah.
They like to know people who try to radicalize people. Like, so you're doing something wrong, you're escaping, and then you want to introduce other
More
people.
people to it. Yeah.
So it's a very good information for immigrants in the US. Tax, money, credit.
And another thing I
Don't
want
mess
to
that
point
up.
out is that everything is all about experience, right? The experience you have your first year about taxes and money and everything is going to be different from the experience you have in your 10th year in the US. So as you continue to spend more time in the US, you continue to gather more experience and you become more knowledgeable about more things. So there are certain things that when you come in, you don't know about the nuances, like in taxes and money and all of that stuff. And then as you go on, you start to learn some nuances, not calling it a back door per se or cutting corners, but certain things that you never, like, for example, explored before. Because even while I was filing my taxes, for example, like, sometimes you get deductions for, like, if you change your car during the year, or you get deductions for, like, the amount of mileage you drive. That might not be something you know in your first year, but as you continue to progress in the US, you continue to gain more knowledge and you become much more refined in the way you approach certain situations. So please, there's no rush. Don't rush to learn everything at once in the first year, because sometimes you might suffer from like over information.
Yeah,
Information
yeah.
paralysis.
Too much
There's
information
Too much information that
dumped on you.
dumped on you
Yeah.
at the same time that you become paralyzed. You can't make a decision
Mm-hmm.
on anything. So please take it easy. It's a step-by-step thing. It's a step-by-step process. So we are giving you a lot of information, which might be a lot to take in, but everything does not apply on the first day you land in the US.
I think we try as much as possible
Yeah.
to be very simple.
Yeah.
Because sometimes information about certain things in the US can be a bit too complicated.
Yeah.
They make it that way on purpose. They make it complicated on purpose.
And sometimes it's not complicated by say. I'm not trying to get you wrong. It's just that you're coming from a system where you're not being given information.
No,
like
I'm not
that.
talking about like people that come. I'm talking for like Americans. Like they make the tax laws like very complicated for Americans in America.
Yeah.
Conspiracy.
No, it's true now because
And it evolves again.
they will change it again.
It
like
evolves.
next year.
That's why you need an expert.
to just do it for you. Yeah.
Because even the so-called former president had issues with tax. Almost every president comes, they'll tell you, oh, he has
The tax
issues with
return,
tax. Look, almost everybody might have an issue with tax.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important for you from your day one. Because let's say you aspire to be somebody big tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the IRS? I know. We all know. After 10 years, most of the IRS can come back to 2020 and be like, COVID period, we released COVID funds for a certain category of people.
Yeah, stimulus check.
Stimulus check. Were you entitled to it or not? So, I mean, we're just being speculative, but we're saying that's the power the system has to run you back on you, audit you down. And the best thing you can do, to the best of your knowledge, is to do the right thing by filing the right tax, by working on your credits, and
Yeah, so let me just finalize all we are saying with this analogy. So, with respect to taxes, money, and credit, when you're moving to the US, consider yourself a blank canvas, like a black canvas for a painter. There's nothing on you yet.
Yeah.
And then you come to the US, and then you start to learn, and you start to learn, and start to learn. And after a while, you might become a Van Gogh painting, or you might become a Mona Lisa, or Leonardo da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci painting, or you might become some famous painting. So always do not assume you know everything when you're coming to the US.
Yeah,
That's
you
a
can't.
very, very terrible character flaw. So consider yourself a blank canvas, and as you're coming in, you continue to paint and paint and paint more of the system.
In summary, you will pay like until you are tired. You buy a house, you pay property taxes. That one is even insane.
Yeah.
see,
You buy things, you pay sales tax.
I think
You pay taxes on your car that you drive.
yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. I think going further, we will talk about a lot of things that, like as I said, I'm more concerned about the needs and wants because,
Yes.
trust me. Yes, you need a house. You want a house. Do you need it at that time?
You don't need to buy a house if you are not ready to buy a house. Don't.
You have a car, a particular car, and already we have a similar experience. So let's say this story just to end the show. So when Mustapha here got his car, right? He was like, when he came first, he was like, God, I need a car. God, I need a car. God, I need a car. And then he got a car, and I was a passenger in his car. One day we were driving, all of a sudden he looked at another car. He was driving his own car.
Capitalism.
If I tell you the drama we went through to get his
That
car,
car, yeah.
and then it was not like a month driving his car. He saw one car and he was like, "Oh my God, look at this car!" And in my head I was like, "Yo, I did the same thing too, but probably somebody was not there to tell me." I was like, "Yeah, I have to tell Mustapha." I'm like, "Mustapha, do you remember that last month you were without a car, but now you want a car?
Yeah.
You're looking at other cars."
Yeah.
So if you don't have that discipline, it depends on what you want. Trust me, some people just want to come and drive cars in America.
Yeah.
But when you come to the system,
You know where you're
you
going.
discover that it's not all about the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Provided it can take you to where you're going, I think the features or the engine and all that stuff
Right,
is just a
uh-uh.
luxury. It's a luxury, right?
fact-
It's not a necessity. It's just a luxury.
You know, it gives you a different dimension
Yeah.
of thinking.
Yeah.
Where, for example, the case I just spoke about with Mustapha, and Mustapha, like, he admitted, he was like, yeah, I think that's a good reminder for me.
Yeah.
And then I took myself back to Nigeria, where you just a young guy, you just finished school, you know you can't afford such cars, right? Because you know how that peer pressure what we just talked about, where you see people driving
Yeah.
Yeah.
big cars and in your
Want to
mind
do
you're
it
just,
too.
I just want to make money to buy that car.
Yeah.
First of all, a car is not an asset, like per se.
Liability.
It's a liability. And then second of all, the people who are driving, I'm not saying people are not hardworking. I'm just saying some people will use taxpayers' money to buy a big car.
Yeah. And then you compare yourself.
And
with
then you
them.
compare yourself with them. And then you bring that mentality down here because you're working your ass off to buy a Mercedes Benz, which is not really necessary for you as just somebody who just came into the system.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot of savings to save for the rainy day. You know, you're developing, you're probably planning to have a family. So you
Yeah.
have to think, if you think ahead and if you look at the system and what it provides to you, it gives you a level ground to reason, to think, even though you have unexpected expenses.
Comparison is the killer of joy. So, like I mentioned earlier, everybody has different timelines in the US. Don't compare yourself to another person, especially if you're on different timelines. You have no idea about the person's case or situation. So, it's very dangerous to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to have one thing, like the most important thing in a car is the ability of a car to take you from point A to point B. After that,
know that thing
that's
is
rubbish.
Newton's law.
I know. The car that we used to,
David Newton.
Oh my
The
god.
essential.
Yes.
that's it now. The car where that we used to go to Nashua to buy your laptop. It was my sister's car then.
Yeah.
Corolla, 2003 Corolla. I saw
And
the
guess
car.
what? They say now who buy car today? Now you buy old model, abi.
Yeah. Before you know, your car is gonna be old. Even if you just bought it today, like it's gonna
Right.
be old. As
Once you take it out of the
Yeah.
of the lots, your dealer's lot,
it's already a used car.
used car. So
So
don't stress yourself too much.
on this note, we're gonna wrap this episode. But for next episode, we have a very hot topic. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. So the topic next week is gonna be African versus African American. So we're going to talk about some of the differences, some of the similarities, some of the misconceptions, and some of the gaps we have in communication between both communities. Because like both communities always go back and forth on Twitter or on the internet, and there's some sort of stigma in both communities that we would like to address next week. So please stay tuned. We're going to have a very, very hot topic. We're going to make it as exciting as possible. And if you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, leave a comment. So I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.